Hello, and welcome to
Hart and Hustle.
I'm the Hart.
I'm the Hustle. We're talking Texas teams and Texas talent every week, and you can see Texas Tech and Fort Bend Ridgepoint this week.
Mallory Hartley, Dave Campbell's Texas football associate producer.
Greg Powers, director of recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football.
And this is episode 3 of Hart and Hustle already, which is crazy to me. I feel like we've gotten pretty good at doing this thing, you know, and it's only episode 3.
And we're right in the middle of the season now. It's like this is like the week where everything hits you because the excitement of week 1 is gone. Now you're into week 2 where it's like, for us, it's the football grind. And you got to do your first live show. Executive producer is now official. How's it feel?
Feels really, really good. I feel good about how Texas football tonight went. We have a really strong talent on the desk, and it only made it that much better because we had some really good games. Katie Dinkinson went down to the wire. Alito Denton-Geyer, that game's always good, and it went down to the wire again this year in a rematch, and we just had such great content, you know. Not only did we have great talent, but we had great content in games as well. So I think overall it went really well. I'm so ready for week 2. It's going to be that
The shots
better.
look great. The set looked great.
Well, thank you. So that was an Ashley Pickle joint. So shout out to her for the set. It's awesome.
So if you're not watching Texas football tonight, you're missing out. I'd say it's now the premier Texas high school football show. You got top talent, not only behind the cameras with yourself and our own V&A Moreno and all the people who help out, but on the screen, Ashley Pickle, Greg Tepper, and Ishmael Johnson.
Yep.
So pretty fun crew. I mean, I'm biased.
I mean, you've been on the show before, though.
No, I'm biased because I like them. Like, they're all my friends, so I enjoyed watching it. So maybe there's another level of nerdism to when I'm watching it, nerding out on a Friday night, maybe compared to everybody else. But I think the show's a hit. It looked like the numbers were good, and everybody really enjoyed watching the show. All the feedback I've gotten has been tremendous. Well,
good. I'm glad to hear it. It's a lot of fun behind the scenes. So really, really excited for week 2. Live at 7:30 on Friday nights. You can watch it for free on TexanLive.com or our YouTube page.
Week 2 of Hart and Hustle almost didn't happen. Week 3, I guess, of Hart and Hustle. Correct. My garage door went down before the start.
I know. That's really frustrating. Well, I'm glad you made it back on time because this is an important week.
You got to have a garage door.
Got to have a garage door. And you also have to talk about Texas Tech and Fort Bend Ridgepoint.
I guess you have to. You have to because we made the graphic.
Correct. You made the graphic. But so we're in week 2 of the Texas high school football season and the college football season. We're not really in conference/district play yet. We're still kind of on the outskirts of that. We're playing non-conference games, non-district games. Texas Tech this week has Washington State. Fort Bend Ridgepoint, that's a tongue twister, plays Fulshire. So 2 really, really great matchups for these teams. But let's go ahead and dive into it first. We'll start off on the college side. We'll start off with Texas Tech. Looking back to last class, all eyes go to 5-star Lake Belton wide receiver Micah Hudson. Justin Johnson, the wide receivers coach there at Texas Tech, has done a tremendous job. Juice Johnson, I love that, has done a tremendous job on the recruiting trail when it comes to the receiving talent that Texas Tech has obviously already has in Micah Hudson. But looking ahead to the class of 2025, right? You've got Triristian Gentry, the 3-star Stephenville product, and you've got Bryson Jones, the 4-star Frisco Lone Star product. And I love these players. I really, really like, they both can display that deep threat type of ability with great ability for yards after catch. I think that Bryson Jones kind of displays a little bit of that Jaron Bradley vibe. You know, the wide receiver from Tech last year who now transferred to Boston College.
Former DeSoto star.
Boston College, correct. I really, really like these guys. And I think it says a lot about Texas Tech and what they've been able to do on the recruiting trail when it comes to the wide receivers that they've been able to pick up. Yeah,
no doubt about it. I really like Bryson Jones and Triristian Gentry. You came with us last year to Stephenville, so you got a chance to see Triristian Gentry with your own 2 eyes, and he is an electric playmaker. He's not the biggest guy on the field, but he is a dude that can make plays happen in the vertical passing game, but he's also a guy that you can flip the ball to underneath. He's got some make you miss. Got some wiggle, got some athleticism that's going to be able to turn in a big play here and there. This is not the perfect comparison. I've compared him to Garrett Wilson, and he told me that was the receiver who he looks up to and patterns his game after. as well. So that's very interesting comparison, I think, there. He's not as big as Garrett, but I think that he has very similar qualities as he's got that short area explosion. Like when he reaches or shoots his hands up for the football, he's able to like snag it, reel it in, and make a tough catch look pretty easy. And then Bryson Jones, I think, has a world of potential in front of him. I feel like he's just now starting to hit his stride as a player. He turned in a tremendous junior season last year, but heading into that junior year, there were still some questions about his game, which he answered on the field.
Right.
But I think he's going to have his best year this year and open up even more eyes. Bryson Jones, to me, is a climber.
I do too, and I feel like I like how both of these players display also they can catch in traffic too, which I think is really, really important, both deep threats. They're great additions to this class. Now let's kind of flip it over to the quarterback side here. The Hitchcock star in Lloyd Jones
They call him Chubby.
Chubba Jones, Lloyd Jones III. This dude is unbelievable. We've been watching him for a couple of years, and you've had your eye on him for a couple of years now. The star at Hitchcock, the reason the Hitchcock Bulldogs have been on the map the past couple of years. What are the Red Raiders getting in Lloyd Jones?
They're getting a tremendous athlete. They're getting a guy who not only is great on the gridiron, he's tremendous in other sports as well. He led his team to a state championship on the hardwood in basketball this year. I was shocked. Dude can dunk easy. Like, he makes it look so easy. So he's like an extreme athlete. When I think of like the Texas Tech quarterback position, Lloyd Jones is the exact guy that I think of like, oh yeah, thinking in my head of somebody like throwing the ball all around the field and picking defenses apart. Lloyd Jones is like that guy that goes under the radar for me at Texas Tech. I guess he's not technically under the radar. He's a number 3 quarterback prospect in the state, but he's under the radar, I think, as far as the national recruiting rankings are concerned. There, people in Texas know about him, but probably people on the national level probably don't know about him as much. I think they'll find out. You know,
I think so too.
The star from Hitchcock.
He's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he's just fun.
Can just
super composed. Like, you aren't going to shake this dude. Like, I've never seen him be up or down.
No.
Like, he's just even keeled, leading the offense. He can pull the ball down and run whenever he needs to, but he's got a really big arm, which I think is his best weapon. 36-5 touchdown to interception ratio last year, 13 rushing touchdowns, so you can see the dual threat ability there.
I love it. I love watching him play. He's one of that star power talent, that only comes through Hitchcock every so once in a while, right? He's just a fun dude to watch. And
unless you're Craig Smith and you had the team loaded for bear for like 3 years with all the stars they've had over there, what a luxury at Hitchcock to be
100%
in 12-3A and have Kelshawn Johnson and Lloyd Jones on your team.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and another pickup by the Texas Tech Red Raiders is Gil Jackson, who is a defensive back there for Fort Bend Ridge Point, which is kind of how we're transitioning. What are the Red Raiders getting in him?
So a bigger bodied defensive back, 6'2", 175 pounds. We've got him rated as a corner, or most people have him listed as a cornerback, and I think that he could play on the island at the next level. I think but we were like talking before the show. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, is that he could easily be a safety.
Oh, yeah.
Well. He's got like that free safety.
He's got that free safety vibe, and I was like, he's more of like that zone type player, rather than like man-to-man coverage. So I was like, I think he could play at corner. I think he could play at safety. Either one.
Smart player. He played at George Ranch last season before transferring over to Fort Bend Ridge Point for his senior year this year. A loaded team. Like, we'll talk about him more in a minute. That Fort Bend Ridge Point is just loaded with talent. Well, Jackson is one of those guys who I feel like is a safe pick. And what Texas Tech does a tremendous job of is they evaluate talent a little bit differently than all the other colleges that we cover, at least somewhat differently. James Blanchard behind the scenes there with Joey McGuire does a tremendous job of looking for guys who fit their mold but also have like multi-sport backgrounds, dual sport backgrounds. One of the things that they say, and if you've heard Joey McGuire talk at some of the conventions and some of his press conferences about his recruiting classes, one of the things that they're looking for is that something extra. What do you do outside of football, or what do you do that gives you an extra check in the boxes that puts you ahead of some of the other guys who we may recruit? And they do a great job of that. Usually it's track, right? Usually it's track. Fort Bend Ridge Point has a tremendous track program there, but it could be anything. Like, are you bringing something special in the classroom or the weight room, or are you just like a team leader, something like that? That's what Texas Tech is looking for when they're looking at this recruiting class, when they're looking at recruits in the Lone Star State. So if you're watching this, trying to think about how can I get a leg up in my recruitment, it's not always specializing in one sport. Sometimes it's a multi-sport background that can put you ahead, and Texas Tech loves that in the recruit.
Yeah, well, and they also love to quickly offer kids too. I mean, if they display a quick track record, it's like, hey, let's offer him and see what this kid can be, and that's how they're able to get ahead early on the recruiting trail, I would like to say.
Yeah, their class is full really early.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they don't hesitate on pulling the trigger with offers.
I was going to say, I think Tech was one of the first programs to offer Lloyd Jones especially.
Yeah, and Michael Deaver, one of the latest additions from Lubbock Cooper, really, really good first week in a win over Lovejoy. He had like 183 receiving yards and a 93-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Deaver was one of those guys that they noticed on like the camp circuit or in the spring evaluation period. It hadn't really blown up yet, and they quickly pulled the trigger on him, and it bared some fruit for them because they added a commitment from him, like literally 2 days after they lost a commitment from Isaiah Robertson from Arlington, who flipped his commitment to SMU. So he flipped to SMU, and they had one in the bag just sitting around in Lubbock waiting to see if the scholarship came available, and it was Michael Deaver, who could end up being one of the best recruits in this class by the time all the dust settles.
I love that. Always prepared. Well, let's flip it back to Ridge Point here, and let's talk about their quarterback.
Let's do it.
A lot of eyes on Austin Carlisle.
No doubt.
Yes, he is a true gunslinger, a true pocket passer. 3,600 yards last year, 45 touchdowns. And I went back and read Carter's piece about him because he only had one offer after his junior season last year. And now he's got 20+, and now he's headed to Houston.
Yeah, big-time pickup for the Cougars from their own backyard, playing for one of the top pipeline programs, I would say, in the Houston area. Carlisle has the it factor.
He does.
That's the way I would explain his game. If you're looking for a guy that has plenty of moxie, plenty of confidence on the field, not afraid to put the ball into tight spaces, press the action, put his foot down on the gas and make the offense go forward at a fast tempo, then Austin Carlisle is the guy that you're looking for because he is got that gunslinger mentality, a guy who, he's going to remind some people of Johnny Manziel. He's going to remind some people of Johnny Football now. I don't think that they're going to put up as big offensive numbers as Kerrville Tivy did in Manziel's senior year, but if I had to make like a comparison point to his game, it'd be something like that. Somebody who is got a little bit of an unorthodox approach and will just do whatever it takes to succeed on this down, on this play. What do I have to do? And whether it's pulling the ball down and run, try to gash a defense, or run over somebody if he has to put his head down and do it, or sit in the pocket and wait for something to come open deep across the middle, Carlisle's the guy that's going to get it done. And
I really like this pickup by Coach Fritz in Houston, too, because it's very different from what they have now. Donovan Smith, that quarterback, who is a Texas Tech transfer. Just a very different style of quarterback, and I think that might be good for Houston, in the next couple of years.
It's going to be exciting.
It is going to be exciting.
You know what I mean? And that's sometimes what you need within your offense is somebody that the fans can
change things up. Yeah.
Not only change things up from a wins and loss perspective, but change things up from like an excitement perspective. Carlisle's plenty exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's not the only. Him and Gil Jackson are not the only two players on this loaded Fort Bend Ridge Point roster that are either committed to an FBS Power 4 program or are just Power 4 prospects. Dane Jones, the wide receiver, committed to TCU. Bryson Weber, the Nebraska commit. You got a couple of younger offensive linemen in the class of 2026 that are absolutely probably going to be Power 4 commits here soon. Talk about this class that Ridge Point has right now, and how are they going to be really good this year? Yeah,
Dane Jones committed to TCU. Oh, well, I think they're going to be really good.
They're going to be fantastic.
Yeah, they're a state championship contender.
And they're number 14, I believe, currently right now in the 6A rankings.
Yeah, so, they're a state title contender. Absolutely. A lot of it has to do with what they're bringing to the table under center. But Carlisle has plenty of great pieces in place to lead that charge. Now, they did lose a pair of tremendous wide receivers off of last year's team, but it's nice to be able to turn to Dane Jones, who people around the Ridge Point program say Dane Jones might have been the best receiver in the program last season. That tells me A lot. I had my first chance to see him at the state 7-on-7 and was blown away by his moxie, his ability to, I mean, like he's got that dog in him, I guess is the best way to say.
As Matt Stepp would say, he's got that dog in him.
Matt Stepp will appreciate that. He's a good route runner. He brings a little bit of everything to the table, so I was excited to get a chance to see him because I hadn't done him any justice in my rankings because I'm like one of those sticklers that like I want to see you in person if I can, if at all possible 100%. First. So he verified his game to me. I think he's a hot 100 type of recruit, and he'll be in those rankings whenever they're finalized for the class of 2025. But there's a lot of underclassmen to be really excited about if you're a Fort Bend Ridge Point fan. You talked about a couple of the offensive linemen off the top, Avery Morcho and Hugh Smith. Both of those guys already have offers. There's a pair of brothers in Robert and Romare Smith down there as well. Robert Smith Jr. and Romare Smith, both on the defensive front. But one of the guys who I saw also in 7-on-7 that I got really excited about is Jermaine Santana Diaz, a safety there in the 2026 class. Already a double-digit offer guy. People are just now starting to find out exactly what he's bringing to the table, and I think that he's going to be one of the most highly recruited players in this cycle because he's extremely versatile. And we talked about Gil Jackson, and you got Bryson Weber. Maybe they're holding down the corner spot, so Santana's playing safety, but I think he's a guy that can play anywhere in the secondary, and that'll help him secure scholarship offers because of the versatility. And if you want to know a name in the 2027, I'm just going to drop it on you guys.
You heard it here first.
There's another Dossett in the pipeline at Ridge Point. Mason Dossett signed with Baylor. Of course, his parents both are Baylor alumni. Yeah. Bryson Dossett in the class of 2027 got his first varsity action last week, and he's a guy who's definitely going to be offered. So, that's a big-time player in the class of 2027 coming up there for Ridge Point.
So you're saying that Ridge Point is not slowing down anytime soon?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, in that community is known for, a lot of former NFL players live in that area, so a lot of the guys that come up within that program have a great pedigree.
Absolutely.
And, Fort Bend Ridge Point is blessed in a way to have that talent in their community.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the episode, big week for both of these programs. Tech playing at Washington State, and then Fort Bend Ridge Point playing Fulshire. This week, we're going to see what these two teams are made of, right, on their respective scale. It's going to be a lot of fun. Not quite district and conference play yet, but really, really exciting non-conference and non-district play. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Ridge Point's going to get tested with a little bit of the Fulshire defensive front. Chance Bryant, of course, up there knocking heads around. So Carlisle's going to get a little bit of a test. We'll see how he deals with the pressure.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's going to do it for episode 3 of Hart and Hustle. This was a lot of fun. Let's keep doing it.
All right, let's do it again next week.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next Thursday at 2 p.m. for our next episode of Hart and Hustle. Do you know what we're going to be talking about?
Man, you know what? I had to call an audible this week. We were planning on talking about Houston, but they got demolished by UNLV. So we switched gears a little bit to talk about Texas Tech. We'll see if Houston can get off of the schneid, and maybe we'll get the Cougars in for next week.
I like it. We'll see you guys next Thursday at 2 p.m.